We all know that we must give to charity. The question is, where? How do we know which charities are the right ones? And how much should we give? Let's imagine for a moment that we are Mackenzie Scott, formerly Bezos. After her divorce a few years ago, she assumed complete control of $50 billion. Imagine that. What would I do with that kind of money? Where would I donate it? Well, Mackenzie Scott got put to the test because it happened to her. And she has been giving away billions of dollars every year, $14 billion so far. We ask ourselves, if I were Mackenzie Scott, where would I give? Friends, we are all Mackenzie Scott in our own way. We don't have her outrageous amount of money, but we have something to give. We all have something to give. And where we give matters. For even a small gift can make a difference. This past year, a woman in our caring committee bought 24 teddy bears. Then another woman on the committee knitted little yarmulkes and sewed them on the head of each one. And now another member of the committee goes to the hospital each week and gives the bears to our members who are sick. They call them Misha Bears. And the people in the hospital are so happy to receive them. They hold on to them, take them home, send us pictures with them. Even a small gift done right makes a difference. It's the obligation of every Jew to give tzedakah. The Torah commands us, open your hand to the poor and the needy. The sages of the Talmud say, charity is equal in importance to all the other commandments combined. Not just that charity is the most important, but the Talmud says it is equal in importance to all the other mitzvot, the commandments combined. So we better get it right. But it's hard. How do we know where to give? There are hundreds, thousands of charities, and they all want you to give. Have you seen your mailbox? And they all need you to give again, today. And every one of them seems worthwhile. How do you know where to give? And how much to this one? And how much to that one? Most people struggle, alone with their checkbook, left to figure it out by themselves. But not you. You are a Jew, and Jews have a heritage, and generations of wise sages who've come before us to guide us. Do our sacred texts teach us which charities are the best? You bet they do. Today, Let's look at these pressing questions. Number 1, do I give to local charities in Florida or stay loyal to causes up north? Number 2, how much should I give to the arts and how much to basic needs? Number 3, how do I know which charities are most effective? Number 4, how much should I give in total to charity? And number 5, how much of my giving should be for Jewish causes? Let's look at each one. Question number 1, do I give to local charities or keep giving to causes up north? This one is a special challenge because it pulls our hearts in two. Most of us lived somewhere else and built bonds and feel loyal. But we see there's real need here too, and charities that are addressing that need. So we're torn. But Jewish tradition is not torn. The law is clear. We have to give locally. We're allowed to give to other places, but we're obligated to give locally. Friends, we are not the first Jews who have moved from one place to another. In the 11th century, Maimonides moved from Spain to Morocco, and then later to Egypt. In his most famous work, Mishneh Torah, he laid out the obligations of Jews when they move to a new town. After 30 days in the new place, they must give to the local tzedakah fund. After 6 months, to the clothing fund for the poor. After 9 months, the local burial fund. And that's that. Give up north if you wish, but we must give here. Question number 2. Should I give more to the arts or to basic needs? This is a temple that loves the arts. Our members support the symphony, the opera, the ballet, and a dozen theaters. Our most popular new program is our arts excursion group that visits museums and artist studios. Many of us chose to move to Sarasota for the arts. It's right and good to support these community institutions. They lift our spirits and are a public good. But Judaism teaches that giving to the arts must come second to the food bank and the health clinic. We must do what we can to preserve life before we can focus on improving quality of life. The ancient Midrash tells a story. Rabbi Joshua went on a trip to Rome and was taken aback by what he saw there. He came home and reported that the Romans seemed to have a greater regard for their buildings than they did for their people. He noticed that as winter came, the marble features on the buildings were carefully covered in blankets to protect them from the cold. He said, the marble pillars were covered in thick sheets, but the poor only a reed mat. There's nothing wrong with protecting fine architecture. In fact, we should. The problem in ancient Rome was that they gave greater care to the buildings than they did to the people. That midrash is 2,000 years old. But the value remains. Question number 3. How do I know which charities are most effective? Charity is so important, we need to be smart about it. My grandma Millie gave to every charity that asked. Not a lot. She didn't have a lot. But for every charity that sent her a solicitation, she would write a check, put it in the envelope provided, and mail it back. And when they sent another request the next month, she wrote another check. You think you get mail? It drove us crazy. We said, Grandma, you can't do this. All these checks for $5. They're just going for postage and administration. She was unfazed. If they were asking for money, they probably needed it. As an aside, I have to say, it has been 25 years now since she's been gone. And in that time, of all the things I love most about her, this keeps rising up and up in my fondness. But still, today, we can be more savvy. We have Charity Navigator, and we can easily investigate which charity, any charity, and see how it rates on efficiency and waste. If you wanted to give to help the people in Morocco or Hawaii, you could go to Charity Navigator, and immediately it will rank the 25 most efficient charities that are sending money to those places without taking a big cut off the top. It's so easy to use. But that's just the beginning. There is a new frontier in philanthropy that focuses on how much good a charity does. It's called effective giving, and it's been all over the news this past year. You should know about it. A couple of years ago, I was having a special moment with my son Moses. He wanted to know about his parents' charitable giving because he was giving some thought to his own. So I shared. It's good to pass on these values to our children. And then this happened. I asked him which charities he likes. And he said matter-of-factly, I mostly give to Helen Keller International because it's the #1 rated charity on GiveWell. And I was like, what? On what? And that is the moment I learned about effective giving, and boom, it opened my eyes. GiveWell is an organization that measures charities by how good they are at accomplishing their mission. And the most popular feature on their website is their annual ranking of which is the most effective at saving lives. At the top of the list year after year are quality charities that prevent malaria, either by medicine or mosquito nets. Malaria is a most deadly disease, but also surprisingly cheap to prevent. So if we want to give money to a charity that saves human lives, that is an extremely effective way to give. And in the last few years, though, the #1 most effective charity at saving lives is Helen Keller International and it is almost by accident. In an effort to prevent blindness, they distribute vitamin A supplements to malnourished children in Africa. What they discovered is that it also saves lives at a rate and cost that is more effective than any other charity on earth. And they also prevent blindness. So now, Rabbi Elaine and I give every year to Helen Keller International, thanks to Moses, our son, our teacher. By the way, I should mention that this entire movement of effective giving is completely led by Jews. Jewish writers, Jewish philanthropists, Jewish journalists. Even GiveWell itself was founded by 2 Jews. We can be very proud of this. Question 4. How much should I give to charity? This is a deeply personal question. As your rabbi, I suggest you give an amount that makes you happy, gives you satisfaction. Give to the point that you feel proud of yourself. If you're looking to Jewish tradition, the answer is clear. 10%. Every year we should give 10% of our income to charity. That is the standard of our people and has been continuously for thousands of years. For those who feel they cannot afford 10%, gifts of talent and time are also precious and needed. The more murky question is what to do when we die. How much should we leave to charity in our will? Obviously, we're going to take care of our family. Some of them need the money. And even the ones that don't, it's an act of love. But I would suggest that it is equally important to not just give to charity in our will, but to provide percentages of our estate to those charities that are most important to you. But that is not in the Torah. That's just this man's opinion. And now, our final question. How much of our giving should be for Jewish causes? I will say it bluntly. The majority. The majority of our giving should be for Jewish causes. Whether it's helping desperate Jews in far-off lands or supporting Jewish culture and learning anywhere. The reason? The Jews of the world depend on us because only Jews give to Jews. There are some small exceptions, but it is plainly true. Only Jews give to Jews. No one else can be counted on to help us. As a final word, I share with you a quote from the 13th century. It sums up the entirety of Jewish values about giving in one sentence. From Sefer Chassidim, God says, I gave you wealth so you could share with those in need. That's it. That's our worldview. Everything we have, everything that we have worked so hard for, it's a gift from God, a blessing, grace. So if God says, reserve the corner of your field for the poor, it's God's soil, God's rain, God's harvest. If God says in the Torah, open your hand to the poor and the needy, what do we have in our hand that isn't a gift from God? Everything we have is a blessing entrusted in our care. God says, I gave it to you so you can share with those in need. Let us share generously and with wisdom. Ken Yehi Ratzon, may it be God's will. And let us say, Amen.